Hi, welcome to this video where I explain more about the different services that Free Finances has to offer you. First of all, with the art of digital technology, we are able to serve our families remotely, so you can receive financial services in the comfort of your home, which is extraordinary. A little more about my background before we begin. I previously had a career in the military. Yes, I accept it. I signed at the bottom of the page and finally authorized them to take my life to serve others. And that's simply what I've continued in the financial sector. I love the impact I'm able to make in people's lives, and that's exactly why I'm here today. Whether it's for your personal goals and aspirations or even for your business, well, that's exactly what drives me. So, without further ado, we are not really transactional advisors. We are more like advisors who go through educational meetings that will eventually lead to achievements. And it's thanks to this approach that we are able to implement financial plans that last over time rather than having to start over. Then I would take it to another level. Since I take the time to educate the families I meet, what happens is that these same individuals contact me later to say, "Hey GS, this and that is happening in my life. I changed jobs. There is a new child. A lot of beautiful things are happening. And it's thanks to the education we provide during the various meetings that I am ultimately able to stay in touch with people as their financial situation evolves." And that's what I love about this educational approach. And don't worry, at the end of the meeting, there won't be a bill sent to your home. It is the financial institutions that support the minors for the services we offer to families. So this allows us to help as many individuals as possible and offer the same service to everyone. It's a formula that I love. Definitely, we will have to adapt each of the strategies. However, the explanation process will remain the same for everyone. And it is certainly thanks to this approach that we are able to help a lot of people at Free Finances. Not only do we conduct all meetings remotely, as I mentioned earlier, but we also work with dozens and dozens of partners in the financial sector. In reality, everything you need for your financial plan you will be able to find with us. Whether it's about your investments, your insurance, both personal and for your home and car, don't hesitate to contact us. Whether you're closely or distantly related to the financial sector, we will be able to help you. And even when it comes to your next real estate purchase, with a pre-qualification on your mortgage rate, you can benefit from the best rates and advantages in the financial sector with a partner of ours who works with over 84 brokers across Canada. So that's extraordinary. What this allows you to do is to ultimately benefit from this competitive advantage and to make these different financial partners compete, all of whom have something to offer to the families we work with. No need to travel, no need to shop around. We do it for you and we can integrate it into your financial plan to benefit you. I hope this helps you understand a little better what we can do for you and the quality of service we can provide. Okay, now, a little more concretely, how do we positively impact a financial plan? Well, we are going to compare your financial plan to building a house. So, just like you don't build a house starting with the walls and then the roof, we're going to start with the foundation. Well, we're going to do the same thing in the financial plan. But first of all, if we talk about the different real non-registered investment strategies, such as these, education savings plans, permanent life insurance, my goal here is not to go into detail about each of these strategies. My goal here is simply to help you clearly and effectively distinguish between the tax advantage and the potential return that can be generated. Because each financial strategy is not really a vehicle, it's more like a tempo. It's not mobile, it's there to ultimately protect us from taxation. So it's not the tax advantage that will allow us to go faster or slower, it's rather the type of vehicle that we will put inside the tempo. It's a bit like if at home we had the opportunity to have 5 different tempos, and inside each one there would be a different vehicle, whether it's a caravan, a Porsche, a Lamborghini, maybe a Jeep, a four-wheeler. You get what I mean. It will depend on your short, medium, and long-term goals. The vehicle we will ultimately position within your different themes. And now, I have a question for you. Has anyone ever taken the time to explain to you when it might be important for you to use one or another of the financial strategies? Because at Free Finances, that's exactly what we do for families in a specific way. Based on your goals, your numbers, your income, and what you have already acquired, we will be able to provide recommendations tailored to your situation. This is exactly what my team and I will make the effort to do for you. There are benefits that will be 100% taxable at the time of withdrawal and others that will not be taxable at all. If we had the opportunity not to be taxed in retirement, everyone would tell me that it would be ideal. It's just math, there's more left in our pockets. The reality is that you have to deal with your current situation, and that's why I believe that a personalized approach is the best, in my opinion. That's exactly why we're going to establish a solid, comprehensive foundation for a financial plan. And what is the foundation? The foundation is there to prevent the financial plan from being impacted in the short, medium, or long term. We will start with an emergency fund. The emergency fund will prevent us from withdrawing unnecessary amounts from our financial plan that we have worked hard to set up. Generally, we will recommend between 1 and 3 months of working capital, and we will be able to establish that based on your budget during our initial arrangements. Afterwards, we will be able to analyze what you already have in terms of your personal protections. This includes critical illness, disability insurance, and life insurance. And here, you might see that there's an error in the PowerPoint because you see the word life in 2 places in the presentation. And that's completely intentional because there are life insurance strategies where we can solidify the foundation of the current plan, but ultimately reuse it in the long term in the financial plan of the families we've met. So we'll talk about it in the next slide. And I often give the example of disability insurance. So if I had put $100 into disability insurance instead of putting it into my TFSA, and tomorrow morning I walk out of my house and slip, well, my disability insurance will last much longer over time than my $100 in my CEU. It makes perfect sense. So you just need to have a solid foundation that meets your needs by taking advantage of the best tools available on the market to then be able to move towards the best investment strategies, quite simply. And that's exactly what we do at our place. I mentioned that I would come back to life insurance protections. Has anyone ever taken the time to explain the difference between temporary protection and permanent protection? Yet, it seems simple, temporary, permanent, but there is a world of difference between the two, and each has an advantage to bring to the financial plan. On the temporary side, in fact, it's going to be a little more like renting. So, we're happy to leave mom and dad's house when we move into an apartment. And that's exactly the case with life insurance protection. We're glad to have it in place. It is more affordable initially at first. However, there will be an increase. For a tenant, it usually happens on July 1st in Quebec. When it comes to life insurance, it doesn't exactly work that way. Generally, it will be every 10, 20, or 30 years. And at that time, there will usually be a significant increase. Sometimes we see increases of 30%, 50%, sometimes 100, 200, 500%. That means 5 times the initial amount. It's major, so it's important to take it into account in the financial plan. The deadline is generally between 75 and 85 years, 15 and 45 years. So, another negative point is that if I have a 100% temporary plan integrated into my situation and I survive until 86 years old, the good news is that I will have lived until then. But the bad news is that unfortunately, my family will have absolutely nothing from this protection. It's not a scandal, it's just that it should have been mentioned to us earlier during our meeting with our advisor for the integration of this protection into our financial strategy. There are certain advantages to temporary solutions. As we discussed earlier, they are more affordable. Another important advantage is that sometimes, for a given period, we might need to go with a temporary solution before moving on to other strategies. Now, with the permanent side, we become the owners of our strategy. We can make investments within that will have tax-free growth. So that means we won't have taxation year after year within the plan, and in some cases we can even recover that money during our lifetime. So it will be up to us to determine if, in your situation, it is ultimately appropriate to integrate a permanent strategy with more or less investment inside. And these are discussions we can definitely have together. And there will be no deadline either. At some point, these strategies will pay off. So, what speaks to you the most today? Is it temporary or permanent strategies? I invite you to write it down on your sheet. And is there a strategy that is really better for you if applied 100% to your situation? Probably not. And that's exactly why we often look for a bit of permanence combined with temporary solutions to gain the long-term benefits of permanence, so that there are eventually funeral expenses covered in the long term, and so that there is accumulated taxation for all the assets you will have ultimately accumulated during your lifetime. And we will add temporary protections to meet the current needs of your situation. This is exactly how we create what we call a layered plan and bring the best recommendations available for you. So far, we've seen how to build a financial plan. And now, let me tell you about the Rule of 72. So, the Rule of 72 is there to indicate how long it will take for our money to double based on where we are invested and the return that will ultimately be associated with our investment. With our previous agency, we averaged the current performance of the financial plans of all the families we met. And I don't know if this will surprise you, but the average return they had with their financial institutions was around 1.7% gain. Right now, maybe 1.7% doesn't mean anything to you. Sometimes we look at it as 1 or 2%. It doesn't seem to make much of a difference. But right here, I'll show you how important it really is. We rounded it to 2% for the explanation. So, 72, what is it? In fact, it's simply a number from which we have to calculate 72 divided by the return, which will ultimately give us an indicator in years. How long will it take to double our initial investment? Don't worry, I'm not losing you. I'll show you an example. If I am 29 years old and I have $20,000 set aside at only 2% return, well, in 36 years, I will have the time to double my investment once. Do I have enough to retire? I don't know. Good question. It will depend on your situation and perhaps the rest of your assets. Now, if I have access to an 8% return, it's because someone takes the time to sit down with me, establish my goals, and determine my short, medium, and long-term needs for my financial plan. Well, now, maybe I have access to an 8% return, and that will ultimately allow me to double my initial investment every 9 years. I didn't invest $1 in the financial plan, but now I have access to an additional $280,000 for retirement. I didn't work harder, I was perhaps tolerant of some value variation, and it greatly rewards me. And there are people that I encounter who have significant knowledge or a substantially higher capacity to endure substantial fluctuations in the value of their investments. These are people who invest and simply wait for the stock to be discounted, meaning that the markets have really gone down. When people generally think they've lost money, often those slightly more knowledgeable investors will simply want to buy more because they understand that at that moment, the stocks are at a discount. At least this is the knowledge we like to share during our meetings. So, you will also be able to buy investment funds at a discount over time. If now, I double every 6 years because I generate an average return of 12% over time, well, I just added over 1.2 million to my financial plan simply because I had access to the knowledge and tools at the same time, simply put. And that's exactly the kind of financial impact we like to be able to make in the financial plans of the families we meet. I have a question. Do you think that the majority of families we meet understand and especially use each of the financial strategies to their full potential before a meeting with Financier Bachelor? At Free Finances, we believe that all Quebecers deserve to be educated, all children deserve to be healthy, and all oceans deserve to be cleaned. So that's exactly why we donate exactly 5% of all our company's profits to two important charities. Parcel, which does an exceptional job of cleaning marine waters, and Le Chaux de Saint-Justine, which does an incredible job of supporting sick children. Two charities that are close to our hearts, so let's share financial education together. Starting today, if there are people around you who you believe should benefit from this presentation, don't hesitate to let me know, share this video with them as well, and schedule a meeting with us to help them better understand the different financial strategies available in our society. You will also have the chance to participate in our annual contests to win great gift cards, especially around Christmas time, which is always a pleasure. And that's exactly what we make available here. So it was a pleasure, and I look forward to meeting you. I hope you have noted down a few questions or small goals that you would like to share with me. So, let's take the time to meet right after this video. See you soon. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to watch the entire video. Next step, just follow the little instructions I sent you by email, along with the link for the meeting. And please, log in a few minutes early to make sure I can have the maximum amount of time with you during the meeting. See you soon.